Sam Bankman-Fried appearing in court in New York City just moments ago. This comes as two key people in the case plead guilty. Let's bring in our CNBC.com reporter, Mackenzie Sigalos, for the latest. Mackenzie, what is the latest here? We just saw him leave the courthouse after posting a colossally sized bond.
Yeah, so Bankman-Fried just left moments ago. He's got an ankle bracelet on. What we know about the terms of his release, he had to put up a $250 million reconnaissance bond. Now, what that means in practice is that his parents had to co-sign on it with him. They also had to put up equity in their family home in Palo Alto as collateral. Now, it is worth noting here, he's not putting down that entire amount. He's putting down a percentage. I hear that sometimes that's around 10%, but we won't know that for sure until we see the filing. Other terms of his release, he had to surrender his passport, and he will live with his parents in their home in Palo Alto. His travel within the United States also limited to the Northern District of California. He's got to stay in his parents' house. He also has other terms of his release. He can't open any new lines of credit. He has to submit to a mental health counselor. Now, in terms of the mood in the courtroom today, we had a producer there. Both his parents were in the room. They were nervous, but they seemed supportive. Bankman-Fried, you know, Kelly, as you said, he was in that blue suit and tie. You have to think that it's the same one that he's been wearing all week as he showed up in court hearings in the Bahamas and now in the U.S.
So part of the collateral was the parents' homes in Northern California. Where would the rest of the money have come from if he is bankrupt?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's exactly what everybody is wondering, because one, he said in an interview that he was down to his last $100,000. But at the same time, a lot of his wealth was in this FTT token. It was in property that the Bahamian regulators say that they would like, the government there would like to claw back $256 million worth of FTX properties in the Bahamas. So it's unclear how he's piecing all of this together right now.
What do the guilty pleas of the associates mean for Bankman-Fried and his defense that basically, apparently, as so far as we know it, is I was just a dumb CEO, I wasn't a fraudster?
Yeah, I mean, it's not good for his defense. And it seems that prosecutors intentionally withheld the information that two of his top deputies, Caroline Ellison, a former love interest, also the CEO of Alameda Research, and Gary Wang, who was a co-founder of FTX. It wasn't until Bankman-Fried was in the air that they actually released information about how they were cooperating with prosecutors. They had submitted these plea deals, so it's not looking good. There are also a lot of other top lieutenants in Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto empire who haven't been named yet. There's a question as to whether conversations, there are back channels going on at this moment. One thing that I want to note about the hearing today, we thought that there would be an arraignment. That didn't happen because the presiding judge was out. So he has not put in a plea of guilty or not guilty to all those charges. That won't happen until January 3rd. So really the discussion of the day focused on bail and scheduling.
The judge was out. Must have been something pretty important.
Weather, COVID, who knows? What?
Mackenzie, thank you very much for all your reporting.
Nice
Mackenzie Sigalos.